start, since you're all in the room, I'd like to thank you again for the warm welcome that you gave me at the beginning of the year. I really felt like home, which was really important when you come to a new place, so thank you. So basically we're going to talk about developing language in all of the classrooms for every child. You all know the Common Core, that language is a piece of that. So developing language is a little bit different than what we do on a day-to-day basis, because we teach lessons, and those lessons we then measure how well we did with our lesson. Well, in those lessons, we are actually measuring achievement, but we also need to measure language. And language, we're going to talk about this more in depth, is measured over time. Not just, we have to do little measurements along the way to see if they get it, but we also have to see how they're doing long term. And I'll explain that a little bit further. So today, our hope is that you'll be able to differentiate between achievement and proficiency, what I just spoke about. And then also that when you walk out today, you will feel equipped to write language objectives. So in addition to the objectives you're already writing and posting in your room, that you would put a language objective along with that. So we're going to talk about what that's going to look like later on. And that's when you leave that door today, when you walk out. That's what we hope you know. Okay? And there are two examples of objectives. Okay? So, why? Take a look at these pictures really quick and think to yourself, which one do you identify with when you think about teaching language through content? And I'll help you out a little bit because they're small. This one, you can see, this one says, ooh, we better go back and look at those plans again. This one says, well, try reverse again. Okay. This one, I think you can see, so many things in the air. And this one, he's got this tiny tool, and he's trying to work here on this huge bolt. So for just about 10 seconds, think about which picture you identify with. And then I'm going to give you 20 seconds to turn and tell the person next to you a little bit about why you picked that picture. Go ahead.
I'm so motivated again yesterday. It was harder than
And finish your last comment. Excellent. So I'm not going to ask you to share because this can be often quite personal, and it's not about kind of picking on ourselves and saying what we're not doing. It's just how are you feeling today and where are you at with this? So we're going to go forward. The point being that language is not something that we learn a lot about in our teacher preparation programs. We may learn it in our ESL endorsement, but we may not learn it, and we may not be asked to apply it right away. So it's not something we have a lot of practice doing. And as teachers, I was a teacher for 17 years, so I know that I focused on what was most important in my classroom at the time. And if I did not have students that had this need, it wasn't a focus of mine. And now what we're saying from what Mr. Thorne said this morning is that now it's a focus for all of us because we have these students in our school. So, how do we do it? Okay, if those bridges aren't lining up, if we've got all these tools in the air and we're juggling them and we don't know which tool to use, what do we do, right? Help. So, these are some things that we do to measure growth. We do multiple exposures over time in meaningful context, okay? So this is how we teach and how we measure. So that means that a student will not acquire a word until they've heard it 30 to 50 times in multiple meaningful contexts. Holy cow, right? That means that they are not going to learn it the first day you teach it. And it needs to be recycled over and over and over again. So that's a big Language production activities. So anytime we ask our students to produce, performance indicators, the can-do statements, they exist in dual immersion and in ESL in the WIDA standards. And then proficiency guidelines, we use WIDA, and then in the dual language program, they have a thing called proficiency reports, very similar to WIDA, it's just in Spanish. So this is how we measure it. Notice that we don't measure language with a test, okay? It's not a quiz, it's not a test, it's what the children can do when they read, they write, they speak, or they listen, which, we're gonna do a quick little thing right here that I think is gonna help you understand that a little bit more. Think of an example that completes one of these sentence frames about yourself, okay? And then after you think of something, just share it